Welcome back to my channel. My name is Blair if you're new here, and today we're going to actually talk about the books I plan to read for 2026. As you guys know, I usually do at least 5 faith-based books, and then 5, I usually say fiction, but I do have one that's nonfiction this year that I saw. I'll explain, but I really wanted to read it. So I'm just going to take you through them. I will insert here on the screen the book cover so you can look them up online if you want to. And then I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of the synopsis on the back of each book so you know what they're about. Let's start with the fiction books. So the first one I have is Miracle at the Higher Grounds Cafe. This is actually written by Max Lucado, which does a lot of faith-based books. I'm pretty sure, if I understood it correctly, this is a fiction book though. It's just got a Christian background storyline going on. So it says, what if you could ask God anything, what would you ask and how would he answer? Chelsea Chambers is on her own after a public split from her NFL superstar husband. Chelsea takes a bold step out of the limelight and behind the counter of the Higher Grounds Cafe, an old-fashioned coffee shop in dire need of reinvention. But when her courage, expert planning, and out-of-this-world cupcakes fail to pay the bills, this newly single mom finds herself desperate for help, better yet, a miracle. When a stranger lands at Chelsea's door, and with him an even more curious string of events, soon customers are flocking to the Higher Grounds Cafe, not just for the cupcakes and cappuccino, they've come for the internet connection to the divine. Now, the cafe has become the go-to place for people in search of answers to life's biggest questions. When a catastrophe strikes and her ex comes calling, Chelsea begins to wonder if the whole universe is conspiring against her quest to make it on her own. After a shocking discovery opens her eyes to the unseen world around her, Chelsea finds the courage to ask God a question of her own. Heaven answers in a most unexpected way. So I love fun books. I love coffee. And I love that this is a faith-based book. So this is the first one. The second one that I have here is The Coincidence of Coconut Cake. I've actually read this book once before. I've actually read a few by this author. I remember I really, really loved the book though, quite a bit. I wanted to read it again, but the first time I read it, I actually got it from the library, so I didn't have it on hand. And every now and then there's a book that I really enjoy and I will reread. Some years I grab a book off my bookshelf and I will read that in place of a new one. The fun thing about these ones that she did, at least the ones that are based around restaurants and food, which I do love those kind of books as well. She usually has the recipe in the book for whatever it was, because there's another one about lemon pie. And I can't remember what the third one was that I read by her. This one, so in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Oh, I remember now. Something to do with apple cider. Anyway, in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Chef Lou Johnson works tirelessly to build her beloved yet struggling restaurant, Luella's, into a success. She cheerfully balances business, friends, and fiance until fate intervenes. She's just baked her fiance a rich, delectable coconut cake, but when she drops by his apartment with the birthday surprise, she discovers him in the buff with an intern. Sardonic British transplant Al writes pseudonyms, scathing restaurant reviews for the local paper. When a tip sends him to Luella's, little does he know he's arrived on the worst day of the chef's life. The review practically writes itself. Underdone fish, scorched sauce, distracted service, he unleashes his worst. The day that Al's review returns, he meets Lou, drowning her sorrows at a pub, and the two strike up a conversation. Accepting the Englishman's challenge to prove there's more to Milwaukee's food scene than cheese and beer, Lou introduced her new friend to the city's best. It's only a matter of time before they fall in love, but when the truth comes out, will it be possible to overlook the past and savor a future together? Now for the non-fiction book, there's a Netflix series out with Meghan Markle. No, that's not her name anymore. The Duchess, called With Love, Meghan. I absolutely love that. Again, it's based around food and entertaining and things of that nature, which are right up my alley. And in the latest season that I watched, she had a guest on, Will Guidara, I think is how you say it. And she was raving about his book and how much she loved it. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. So I decided to get my hands on this one to read. I don't know if there's really a description, is there? Chefs at the finest restaurants in the world had long been celebrated for being unreasonable about the food they served. At 11 Madison Park, they set out to discover what could happen if they were just as unreasonable about how they made people feel. And I guess it's about his story in his restaurant. I'm not going to go into the rest of that because it seems like a lot, but I'm hoping this book is as good as I think it will be. And then I have two by the same author, Sarah Adams. I actually read one of her books last year, something about football. I can't remember the name of it. It was actually a really good book, so I decided I wanted to read a couple more by her, and I think these are part of a series. I think it's The Match is the first part. So it says, Evie Jones has dedicated her life to Southern Service Paws, the company that matched her with the love of her life. Charlie, a service dog trained to assist with her epilepsy. But as the company struggles to make ends meet, it's up to her and her longtime mentor and boss to keep the doors open with the fundraiser of the century. When Evie meets Jacob Broden at client consultation for his daughter Sam, there are instant sparks, but not the good kind. Still, it doesn't take long for Jacob to be convinced that a service dog and possibly Evie might be the best thing for his family. As Evie spends more time with Jacob and helps Sam find her perfect match, she starts longing for the loving family she's never had. For Jacob, falling in love with Evie is the last thing he should be doing, but love has a way of finding those who need it most. So the second one is called The Enemy. Let's see, it's been 12 years since June Broden has seen her high school enemy and secret crush, Ryan Henderson. That's a long time to hold a grudge over some petty feud but the sharp memory of him dangling a kiss at graduation, then pulling away at the last second has fueled many angry fantasy since. Now it's her chance to get even. Ryan, along with most of her high school class, is back in town for June's best friend's wedding, and June is eager to show the former bully exactly what he's missed out. A lot has changed since their teenage days. June is now the Southern queen of gourmet donuts, not to mention one of the most desired bachelorettes in her small town. What she's not expecting, though, is for Ryan to show up looking like Adonis and tooting his own career success as the youngest chef to ever win 3 Michelin stars. How dare he try to one-up her revenge plot? Luckily, June never backs down from a challenge. Again, food. So those are the ones that I will be reading that are non-faith-based books. The faith-based books I have here. Okay, first one, and I've already started on this one for the year, or for this month, The Generous Life. This one, I got it at church. He was actually a guest preacher, and he actually signed it, but I'm not one just to get a book and not read it. So this one says, how do we know if we're truly generous? For most of us, we want to be known as someone who lived a generous life. We don't want money, possessions to guide our decisions. We would rather live open-handed so that we can bless others. This book gives practical steps on how to achieve your generosity goals, even if you don't have any yet. You'll hear stories from people who never realized God could use them in such a significant way, from big gifts to small gifts, from teenagers to multimillionaires. God wants us to live life generously. In this book, you'll learn to think about your generosity as an act that is way more about what it does in you than what your dollars can do. As Pastor Rob gets vulnerable with some of his own struggles early in his life and ministry, you will see that God's faithfulness can take the most unlikely story and launch a movement of generosity. So far, it's pretty good. Let's see, I'm on chapter 6. The only thing I'm noticing is that unfortunately, a lot of his stories in the book were preached that Sunday. So I feel like I keep coming across stuff that I'm like, oh, I've already heard this. But it's good. It's a good reminder, about tithing. And something I wanted to do this year was try to give a little bit more above the tithe. So I'm hoping this will inspire me to do so, or give me some ideas of how to do that. The second one I have here is Do It Afraid by Joyce Myers. It says, fear is the devil's favorite weapon in the toolbox of schemes he uses to destroy God's good plan for you. He uses it to hold you back and prevent progress in your relationships, your career, and your ability to live your best life. In Do It Afraid, Joyce Myers explains that fear is everywhere and affects everyone. It rules many people, but it doesn't have to rule you. She will teach you how to understand fear and recognize how it works in your life, to confront the fears holding you back, and to change your mentality to achieve lasting freedom from some of the most common fears people face. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, it is learning how to move forward in the presence of fear. Courageous people do what they believe in their hearts they should do, no matter how they feel or what doubts fill their minds. When you take ownership of your problems and open your heart to God, He will bring light into the darkness so that you can be free. I think this is a vital one in light of all the things that have popped up in the last year and so far this year. It's important to recognize that fear doesn't have a hold on us, and I think this is going to be a good read. Called The Parables, The Mysteries of God's Kingdom Revealed Through the Stories Jesus Told by John MacArthur. It says the parables of Jesus are more than teaching tools. They are the secret keys to the mysteries of God's kingdom. Master expositor and Bible commentary John MacArthur have spent a lifetime explaining the word in clear and comprehensible terms. In parables, he helps Christians understand the essential lessons Jesus had for his people, lessons contained in the most famous and influential short stories that the world has ever known. I think this is a good one to read because obviously I've heard parables when I've read through the Bible, but it doesn't mean I always understood them. So I'm hoping this will break down some of those so I have a better grasp on it. We also have A Crown That Lasts by Demi Lee Thibault. This one I actually bought last year and then I ended up replacing it with something else, so I never got to reading it. So we're going to do that this year. It says, in A Crown That Lasts, former Miss Universe and Miss South Africa Demi Lee Thibault confesses the danger of tying our identities to our accomplishments. On this earth, a crown is what separates victors from the rest of the competitors, but the goal of creating a life worth living is not to gain a trophy or get a prize or keep the crown. Our lives are not meant to be about being number one or making our own names known. While walking with you through the journey of her evolving confidence, from basing her identity on temporary labels and her own efforts to discovering the rock-solid security of anchoring her dreams in her maker, Demi Lee weaves her story together with the insights she's learned along the way. A Crown That Lasts will show you how to relate to the discomfort, confusion, and doubt that arises when you base your confidence on external things. Discover God confidence when your plans take unexpected detours. Know what to do when planted in unknown territory. Use your story to grow an external impact and stay grounded in the truth of who you are in Christ. The purpose of our lives is to love and serve God and others. Demi Lee shows how you can be encouraged to focus not just on your aspirations, but on the greater purpose, leaving behind a footprint of significance, not just success. And the last one, The Awe of God by John Bevere. I think that's how you say it. The astounding way a healthy fear of God transforms your life. What does it mean to fear God? Do you long for a more intimate relationship with your Creator? Does He seem distant, even elusive? John Bevere assures us that God is near, but perhaps something utterly essential is missing from your walk with Him: the fear of the Lord. In The Awe of God, Bevere invites you to take a fresh look at what it means to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. This largely forgotten virtue is the uncommon path to a fulfilled and fruitful life. You will discover how holy fear is vital to a close relationship with God, frees us from all other fears and anxieties, purifies our inward motives and intentions, leads us into true wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Holy awe unlocks life as God intended. Only in developing and clinging to this virtue do we find peace, safety, and joy that many find unattainable. Rather than cowering before our Creator, embracing the fear of God will raise us to a higher level of living that forever changes us. So, another good one. I'm looking forward to reading these. But those are the 10 books that I plan to read for 2026. Like I said, 5 faith, and then I try to do 5 used to just be fiction, but I might start mixing in some nonfiction books in there, potentially if something piques my interest. I usually like the idea of rooting myself in God and then doing stuff that's fantasy, something I can kind of, I don't want to say fantasy because I don't read fantasy books, but books that are fiction that just kind of help you to escape a little bit. That's usually the way I do it, and I alternate those every month. And then if I'm doing Bible studies, which I'm not this year, I will sprinkle those in between here and there. But those are my books for 2026. If any of those piqued your interest, leave a comment down below. Let me know which ones you're interested in reading, and maybe I'll share a tidbit of how they're going when I get to that book. As always, I hope everyone enjoyed, and I hope everyone has a blessed day.